Hello, I am Pradyot Sharma and I'm part of ShariraM Body Simulator. So, what is a body simulator exactly? A body simulator is a virtual model of human body systems, uh, which which is based off of public data and clinical trials. So, instead of doing clinical trials, the world is currently moving towards using body simulators as a much more safer and more reliable alternative. So, using all of this, you can create a virtual model of certain organ systems like a brain simulator, a heart simulator, and it takes input from the user, like which is called a stimulus. So you can put in a certain chemical or sound or visual input and see how it affects certain regions of that area. For example, if you were to give a input to the brain, we see exactly how the brain reacts. So this is the basic of what a body simulator is. And it's starting to be used by pharma companies as a recent trend. So what are current problems as of now? In general, when people exactly haven't shifted to body simulators yet, and are currently depending on clinical trials, which oftentimes contain extreme amount of safety risks depending on what experiment is being conducted, and they're extremely expensive and inconsistent based on all the equipment you'll need. And in fact, when you're doing a clinical trial, you need to keep updating your equipment and get multiple of the same product if you're conducting the same experiment. And it's also inconsistent because if you were to conduct an experiment in a lab, there could be multiple triggers within the lab room which could be affecting the patient, which is why it wouldn't be exactly called a controlled experiment. And clinical trials also require trained professionals. And if you were to give this to a researcher or a pharma scientist, or let's just say a regular day-to-day user who is simply passionate, he wouldn't be able to conduct clinical trials. And animal testing is also a huge concern within pharma companies, as most pharma companies and the FDA depend on animal testing to determine the reliability and validate the medicine. And one statistic is that about 92% of tests which pass on animals fail with humans, essentially saying that it doesn't using animal trials doesn't necessarily help that much in validating the medicine. And drug testing also takes multiple years of testing for validation as well. So, what are some current simulators? As of now, there are no holistic body simulators, which means they're only individual. You have a brain simulator, a kidney simulator, a heart simulator, but nothing combined together. And it only observes the effects in that specific region because we don't have the rest of the body to observe. For example, if we were to put in a medicine to the simulator, we won't see what happens to the heart, the kidney, or lungs, or it can observe the different side effects. And another problem with current simulators is that its user interface is hard to navigate and it's non-intuitive, as in it requires lots of understanding sometimes of how to exactly use the software. And for researchers, it can essentially be hard. For example, when I was using a brain simulator for a project, I actually had to learn a new language for called HOC for a neuron simulator to test my stimulus. And many use outdated mathematical algorithms rather than a prediction based approach from analyzing multiple data from patients. So, most of the simulators as of now have not been updated as of for the newest machine learning data. For example, if you were to identify if a patient reacts this way, simulators often use mathematical algorithms rather than analyzing and using a prediction-based approach. And one other drawback is that Simulators don't track cross-system side effects, as I was saying earlier. So what our goal is to combine all the existing simulators so that if you were to apply a stimulus in one region, you can also observe the side effects in other regions, which is what makes it helpful. So our solution, as I said, is to integrate open source individual simulators. So after we do this, we can get it under one common operating system, which makes it easy for the user to use. And we can also integrate the AI prediction based software, which I was talking about, which also helps give a data summary for the user and makes it easier to understand. And we also include a user interface, and it will also be easy to use. So the market size for this currently is $3.5 billion as of 2025, and it grows and it plan is projected to grow to $7.3 billion by 2030.
30
And
seconds.
about 46.5% of the market share is in North America as of now, and it's the largest market. So our target markets are pharma companies. Because I believe that if we give this to if we do licensing deals with pharma companies, they'll be able to test their medicine, as well as also you can actually also do clinical trials with this, because you can first get validation from the brain you can first get validation from the simulator and use that data and validate it through clinical trials, so you can get both of the worlds. So our target market includes pharmaceutical companies such as Pfizer, Regeneron, and Lilly. These three pharma companies are slowly switching towards a simulation-based approach, which means they're reducing dependency on clinical trials and animal testing and so on. So if we were to license their software with them and do deals with them, we believe that maybe perhaps they can be our first customers. And academic institutions also practice using simulation softwares with students as of now. When people are trained to do clinical trials, people are also trained to learn medical simulation softwares, as that's currently the growing trend. And researchers and doctors, as well as the FDA, because if a pharmaceutical company tests using 100 rats, for example, the FDA also uses 100 rats to test so what called the result which is received from that medication.
Pradyut, you have 10 seconds.
Yes. So revenue model is to do a licensing deal with pharma companies as of now. And our future is to build a working prototype, patent it, and then work on licensing deals with pharma companies. So I believe that this is the future of the medical industry, and this is where we're currently heading. And thank you for listening. Hopefully, I can bring the ShariraM model to a reality. Thank you.